Hello everyone, and this video is brought to you by Azam School, one of the largest catalogs for iOS development videos. Simply go to azamsharp.school and click on courses. Here you will find all the different courses for iOS development, including SwiftUI architecture, patterns and best practices, Swift language fundamentals, and I even have a course on full stack iOS development using Vapor and SwiftUI. If you want to learn Supabase, I have a course on that. Swift data, reactive programming, building reminders app, and also server-driven UI, test-driven development, anything you can imagine for iOS, I have a course on that. Now, you can buy these individual courses, or you can go ahead and sign up for a monthly account. If you sign up for an annual account, you will save $99. You can also sign up for monthly account if you want. That's perfectly fine. So check out azamsharp.school. Now let's go and get back to the video. Hello everyone, and in this video you're going to learn how you can display global messages in SwiftUI. What does it mean, global messages? Global messages simply means that maybe some sort of an event takes place in your application. Maybe you added a customer and it was successful, or maybe an error got thrown. So you want to tell the user that something has happened. And you can display a toast or a message, which will appear at the bottom or at the top. And this might be an error, so it might say, oh, something bad happened. So we're going to display that for a couple of seconds, and then it will go away. Or you can actually display some sort of a success message, like, hey, everything was good and the saving was successful. Now, we can do that in various different ways. But how about we do it in a really nice way, which is easier to use? Something like this. What about if we can just use the environment, get access to something called showMessage, which we are going to build, and then whenever we want to show a message, probably using a button click, show message. Obviously, none of these things are going to work right now because we haven't implemented. And we can say operation, or just say success. And over here, we can even pass in if we want to show success, or if we want to show failure, if we want to show informational message. So we can do all of those things. Obviously, this is not really going to work right now. But what if we can make it something like that? And this video is all about that. Once you are able to create show message, then you'll see that in your other views, you are able to easily use this environment value. So let's go ahead and get started. The first thing I want to do is to create the environment value associated with the show message. So I'm going to go ahead and add a new group, and I will call it environment values. Let's go ahead and add a new file. This will be an environment value, so I'll just call it show message environment key, and then it will be a Swift file. This is where I will define my show message action as well as show message environment key. Let's first start with importing SwiftUI. Next, we will create a show message action. So I'll say show message action. So what's the point of the action? The show message action is a simple struct, and the show message action will contain the function that you can call to show the actual message. And if we go to our content view, you know there are a couple of different that are still available, right? I mean, the dismiss one. So dismiss in the background uses dismiss action or a similar approach. So that is why we're also creating a show message action. Now, inside the show message action, we can create our actual action. And we can use a type alias. We can say action. We will have a string. This will be the actual message, like customer has been saved or something like that. We can also add a message type. Now, what is message type? Well, message type will be the type of the message that you want to display. Now, currently, we don't really have anything called message type, but that will be pretty simple to create because message type can be an enum representing whether the message is of error, informational, or success. So there we go. We've created a message type. You can put that in a different file if you want to, but right now we're just starting out and that's perfectly fine. We've created the action, which is simply a type alias. So now we can create a variable of that particular type. Next, we can use call as function. Call as function basically means that you will be able to invoke this as a function. We're going to be passing in the message, which will be a string, and we're going to be passing in the message type, which will be a message type. And we can default it to error. I mean, if you want it to default to success, that's also fine. Keep in mind that the action over here is a type alias, which points to a function that takes in a string, and the second argument is message type. So now we can actually invoke the action, passing in the message and passing in the message type. Great. Currently, we have created the showMessage action. We can expose it as an environment key, and we can use showMessage environment key, which will be simply an environment key. Now, if you're using Xcode 16, there is a much easier way to do all of those things, but I'm showing you kind of like the other approach that you can also use. We need to implement the default value. This will be of type showMessage action. And the default value, you can put anything over here for the default value, but for us, we don't really have any default, so I'm just going to leave it blank, kind of like this. And we can actually move it to single line. There we go. Next up, we are going to add an extension to the environment values. And this is where we will name our function, the environment value, which is called showMessage. Obviously, you can name this anything you want, but showMessage is a pretty good name, so you can use that. So now that we have added the new environment value called showMessage, we can go back to our content view and inject the new one. So I can say environment over here. I can say environment key path, and I can say showMessage. And this will be the showMessage action. But typing in all this action over here, I mean, that's a lot of code. And it becomes a little bit ugly, right? So how can we make it a little bit better? Well, one of the ways that you can actually do that is by creating a view modifier. And before we even do the view modifier, we need to create a folder that we can have view modifiers in it. So view modifiers. The purpose of the view modifier is that so that eventually we'll be able to simply say with message view. I mean, that was definitely much better and much simpler, right? So we should be able to do that. Currently, obviously, it's not going to work because there is no with message view. Let me go ahead and add a new file. I'll call it with message view. And I'll import SwiftUI. I'll create a struct. We'll call it with message view, which is the view modifier. Now I can go ahead and create the body function. Now inside the body function, I do have to return some sort of a view. But the question is, well, where is the message view, like the actual view that's going to display the message? I mean, we need that also, right? And also, we need some sort of a wrapper that will allow us to show the message. Like what will be in the actual message. So what we can do is we can actually create a message wrapper. That will be identifiable. This means that we need to implement the UUID or ID property. So what will be in the message? Well, the message will consist of string message. It will have also a delay. And by default, we can use a delay of 2 seconds. And it will also have the message type. So this will be a message type. And we can initialize it with the error. Once we have the message wrapper, we can go back to our with message view and create or point to the message wrapper. Message wrapper. So this part will be the identifiable part. All right. So this means that whenever the message wrapper is changed or set a new value, then we can execute this body part. We get access to the content. Content over here can be any view on which you're calling with message view. All right. And in that view, we are going to inject show message. We are going to get access to the show message action, which is going to give us access to the message as well as the message type. And over here, now we can initialize the message wrapper. So we're going to initialize the message wrapper, passing in the message and passing in the message type. And we will also be looking at the overlay. We can use the alignment of the bottom. And this is where we can go ahead and display something. So if the message wrapper is not equal to nil, then go ahead and return a text view. And in the text view, we can say message wrapper dot message dot, well, I guess just the message, or else we can simply go ahead and return nil. And over here, we can display kind of like unwrapping it correctly. So the whole point of the message wrapper is to provide an identifiable thing that when you change this, when you assign something to the message wrapper, this part is going to get evaluated and it will display you the overlay. Now in the overlay right now, we're simply displaying a text view, but we can definitely change that to any kind of a view that we want. Obviously, we want to display the message in a nicer way, but right now we're just displaying text view. All right. Now we want the with message view to be part of the view extension or available for all the different views. So on that part, we can extend the view and we can create a simple function called with message view that allows you to easily attach with message view view modifier. Let's go back to our content view. And now we will be able to say with message view. Oops. There we go. We can also uncomment the line for the environment. And now you can see that we can access our show message. Let's say that if we want to show an error, how can we do that? Well, we'll call show message. And we can say operation failed. We can pass an error over here, but that is by default also. So let's see what happens. See that? It says operation failed. It doesn't really go away. It kind of looks weird also, but at least we were able to display the text when you click on the show error. We need a better message view. A message view that will display over here at the bottom and a message view that will go away in 2 seconds. So how can we do that? Well, in those cases, we will have to actually create the message view. So I'm just going to go ahead and add views. Now this can be anything you want. So it doesn't have to be the one that I'm creating. You can create message view in many different ways. And it's just going to be a view. So you can customize it with rounded corners or whatever you need. So now we're going to be focusing on the message view. This is the actual view that gets displayed. Message view will have a dependency on message wrapper because whenever the message wrapper is changing, that is when the message view is getting displayed. Since we have added a dependency on message wrapper, the preview is also complaining. So we need to pass in something over here. Let's go ahead and pass in the message wrapper. And we can say this is an error message, just so that the preview can work. Now over here inside our message view, this is where all the fun happens, because this is where you will display the message anywhere any type that you want. But before we do that, each message can also have different color. So let's go ahead and create a property called background color, which is of type color. Now, the background color will be dependent on the message type. If it's error, then it will be red. If it's info, then it will be blue. And if it's success, then it will be green. But what if the message wrapper is null? Well, if it's null, then it will be clear color. Now we can go ahead and say message type. If the case is error, then we will return red. If the case is info, we can return blue. If the case is success, then obviously we can return green. Perfect. Next up, we go to the body. This means that this is the actual message that's going to be displayed. This is the view, meaning this is how you want to display the message. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and use a message wrapper dot message property and display the message. So whatever the message is, it should be displayed. And you can see that it is displaying over here. Great. We can set the frame and padding and background color. Let's go ahead and do all of those things. Okay, already looking pretty decent, right? I mean, you can actually change it the way you like, but it's looking pretty good. Let's go ahead and add clip shape. 25 radius. Okay, now it's a circle. Let's go ahead and also change the foreground color to be white. So this means the text is now white. And you can also change the look, right? Right over here, if you don't want to see the over here, I think it's over here in the message, or I wonder if it's like over here. No, not over here. I think we'll come back to that a little bit later. The message type, I think I'm talking about. So over here, we can actually pass in the message type, and you can say success. So you can see that the color is actually changing also. So that's pretty cool, right? Let's go back again. Now we want this message to appear for a couple of seconds and then go away. So what we can do is we can use the task modifier with the ID. ID basically means that this is a dependency. Whenever the message wrapper ID changes, this task is going to get executed. And when we are executing this task, we will sleep for a couple of seconds. So let's say we sleep for whatever the delay is. So message wrapper.delay. If delay is nothing, then we can just sleep for 2 seconds. After that, we will check if the guard is, or if the task is not canceled. Over here, you can see if the task is not canceled. Let's see over here. What's going on over here? Oh, we need to await. Sorry. There we go. And finally, so over here, we're checking that if the task is not canceled, then you move forward and we will perform with animation. We will perform the message wrapper. We will make sure it is nil. Perfect. This looks really nice now. Let's go ahead and jump into our message with message view and change this part. See that this part where we're using the text view? Instead of using the text view, we just created a brand new message view. So we can actually go ahead and use a message view, passing in the message wrapper as a binding. So whenever the message wrapper actually changes, this message view also gets reevaluated. With all those changes, let's go back to our content view and see what happens. If I say operation failed, I can see operation failed over here. Pretty cool, right? Now, if you want it to be displayed at the bottom, you will have to adjust the frame itself. So I can go ahead and say maximum height, infinity, and maximum width infinity and maximum height infinity, so that we will be able to see it at the bottom. And the good thing is that you can show the message. I can change this, right? I can change it to success. Let's say add customer. Maybe you're doing something with a customer. And I can say success over here. So adding customer, success. And after 2 seconds, it's going to be gone. So that's actually pretty cool that you can actually do those kind of things. All right. So hopefully you have enjoyed it. One other thing that you can add, which I didn't add over here, is if you look at the message view, you can see that we're passing in the message wrapper. We're actually looking for the environment value, sorry, this one. Message type, okay. So you can add a third argument where you actually pass in the delay also. So that is something that you can also take a look at if you want to. But 2-second delay is fine for us, but you can actually change that to add another argument over here for the delay. All right. So there you have it. You can have a show message environment over here if you want to use it. Right now you're using it in the preview, but it's pretty easy to use it in the actual app, because the only thing you need to do is use with message view. And once we start using with message view, view modifier, now the content view will have access to it. So I can actually run my app, and you will notice that this will also be available on the simulator, and this will also be available on your phone if you run this. So this is a really good technique to make sure that when you're displaying these kind of toast messages, it is nice and it is easy, it is seamless that you are displaying these things. And I think that is what makes it kind of interesting and super fun, that you can display these messages from anywhere. And for the modals, let me actually talk about a little bit about modals. First, let's see that if it displays everything. There we go, add customer, success. So you see it works. Now for modals, what happens is if you have a modal, like if you're displaying a sheet over here, right? Sheet on something, let's say is presented, and you're saying add, or I don't know, update customer, update profile screen. So with modals, what you need to do is to just inject this with message view. All right. So that your modal, which in this case will be update profile screen, that will also have access to the message view, so it can display it. If you don't inject with this view, with message view, then your modal will still display the message view, but it will be behind the modal, so you won't be able to see it. So that's why make sure that you inject it over here with message view. All right. So that's a good idea to do those things. But that's pretty much it. Hopefully you have enjoyed it, and hopefully you can use this technique in your applications. Thank you so much.